David Hofmans is a trainer, and we're out at the Santa Anita racetrack right now. He has won 3 Breeders' Cups. He's won the Queen's Plate, which is Canada's biggest race, and he's preparing some horses right now to take down to Del Mar. But we're at his home stable here at the Santa Anita track, and we're getting a real down-to-earth understanding of race horses, race tracks, everything horse-wise. So, David, first of all, girl horses, boy horses, explain to us the basics.
Okay. Well, there are categories of horses, and there are girl horses, female horses that are called fillies. This is a little complicated. They're called fillies until they're 5 years old. After 5, they're called a mare.
Does it matter whether they have had a foal or not?
It makes no difference.
Okay.
Once they've hit 5 years old, they become a mare. They're referred to as a mare. Then you have the male horses, and they are called colts until they turn 5. And when they turn 5, they're called horses.
So you never call a female horse a horse?
You know, we never call any of them a horse. We call them either a colt or a filly or a mare or a stud, something like that.
So do geldings race?
Geldings race, and geldings, you refer to them as a horse. Yes, you do. But geldings race all the time. I think a good percentage of the horses are geldings. I would say 40% of the horses are geldings.
And are certain races only, or are all races, this is a female race, this is a filly race, this is a gelding race? Is that how they're done?
Right. There are races for fillies only. There are races for 2-year-olds only. There are races for 3-year-olds only. There are races for 3-year-olds and older.
And can they be mixed races?
They can be. Fillies can run against the colts. Mm-hmm. A filly can enter, or a mare can enter again in any colt race that their handlers or their connections want them to run in, but colts cannot run against filly races.
Okay, so there are races that are just fillies, that's it, but any other race is open to everybody.
That's exactly right. Yes, geldings, fillies, yes.
Okay. All right. So explain what these different races are, because I've heard there are stakes, there are futurities, there are maidens, there are So what allowance races? What are all of those?
Okay, we'll start with a maiden race. A maiden race is restricted to only horses that have never won a race.
Can they be 5 years old?
They can be 10 years old. It doesn't matter, as long as they've never won a race.
Okay.
Once they've won a race, then they're restricted to what we call here in this business an allowance race. The next step would be, and it's a move up, would be for horses that have never won 2 races. Okay. And only horses that have never won 2 races are allowed in that race. And then they have horses that have never won 3 races. They have races for horses that have never won 3 races, and there are races for horses that have never won 4 races.
And those are all called allowances?
Those allowances, okay. Because you have to meet certain allowances to get in, and those allowances are you could not have won more races than the allowance calls for. Okay. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Then after you've done that, you've won 4 races, you're sort of like run out of allowance conditions, what we say. You have to go into stake races, and stake races are open up to anybody. You can win 100 races and be in a stake race.
Can you have not won any race and be in a stake race?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
And all stake races have an entry fee. There's no fee for running in any of the other races. Only stake races, you have to pay an entry fee to get into the race. So that kind of keeps horses out that really don't have the ability or the caliber of the stake races, because stake races are the higher races.
What kind of a fee are we talking?
Oh, that can range from it can range from $50 to $2,000. As an example, Breeders' Cup races, where the purses that the horses are running for are from $6 million down to $1 million, you'll have to pay $30,000 to run.
So you better be serious about that.
You have to be serious. That's one of the reasons we have a fee system, to keep the better horses in the race, make the race more competitive.
Yeah.
Now, in the stake races, there are categories, and I'm going to explain that.
Okay.
We have a system called graded stake racing. Grade 1 is the highest race. The Kentucky Derby is a grade 1.
Okay.
Grade 2 is a little less of a stake little less prestigious as a grade 1, and grade 3 is even less than a grade 2.
So are there 3 then grades of stake races?
There are three grades only: grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3. The lower you go in the graded number, the harder it is to win.
Okay, all right. So you're 3.
The purse is bigger.
I mean, you're 1. That's the big guy. That's the Preakness. That's the Belmonts.
That's the Derby. That's all the big races are grade 1s.
Okay, it's kind of like Formula One racing, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Now so those are the stakes. What's a futurity?
Futurity is for only 2-year-olds. It's limited to 2-year-olds. Derbies are limited to 3-year-olds. Maturities are for 4-year-olds only. So those are different categories. The futurity, only 2-year-olds can run. A debutante, only 2-year-old fillies can run.
Right. Debutante makes sense, and of course that can only be fillies.
Yep. And then the derbies are for 3-year-olds, and oaks are for 3-year-old fillies.
Oh. Okay. All right. And then does it matter after that?
Not too much. There are some races called matron races, and they're for fillies and mares 3-year-olds and older. They're called matron races.
All right. What about a claiming race?
A claiming race is a for sale race, meaning the race has a price tag on it. We'll use an example of $20,000. If you enter in this race, all the horses entered are entered for a price tag of $20,000. Any other trainer or owner can purchase that horse out of that race.
Can I walk on the track and put in to buy a horse?
You can, but you must meet there are some regulations. You have to apply for a license, for a horse owner's license, and you have to go to a place called the California Horse Racing Board. It's a regulatory board that is set up by the state, and you have to be approved. And it's not that difficult. Once you're approved, then you can contact a trainer and work with a trainer and therefore buy a horse, claim a horse.
Yeah, and let's talk about that, because we think of the owner as being the end-all, be-all, but it's really not, because it's really the trainer who you have to have in the whole mix.
Well, the trainer works with the horse so closely. I mean, we're here at 5 a.m. till 11 a.m. in the morning, and then back in the afternoon, and we know the horses, and we see them every day. The owner may come out once a week, or may only see his horse when it races. So it's the communication between the trainer and the owner that works.
Yeah, but if I have a horse, I can't just walk into Santa Anita and say, you know what, I want to race my horse. I have to work through a trainer, don't I?
Exactly, unless you have an owner-trainer license yourself. But you do have to work with a trainer, a licensed trainer, and to become a licensed trainer, you have to have qualifications, and you have to meet certain requirements to do that.
So you've been a trainer since 1973. What is it that a trainer does?
Well, I'm responsible for the overall care of the horse, his health, and to get him ready for the races. Picking the jockeys along with the owner, picking the races along with the owner. But that's my job, is to condition the horse from being in a field someplace, relaxed and happy and fat, and to get him in here and get him fit, ready, like the football players do. You know, they go to early training and all that, and that's the same thing we do. We get the horses fit and ready to run. And
are pretty much all trainers housed at racetracks?
Pretty much in California. In fact, I would say yes, in California. There are some satellite training facilities that we have, very few here in California. When you go back east, there are a lot more. But here in California, we have very few. There's one in San Diego that is licensed by the California Horse Racing Board to race out of. But there are just a few of those.
Yeah, but pretty much. I mean, and what struck me walking here at Santa Anita is it's really a town. It's a small town.
Yeah, it's a microcosm of life. Really, here we have barns. We have quarters for the backstretch people to live. We have a hospital here, a medical center for them, a kitchen, a recreational hall, a cafeteria. So it's just a small town.
And a thrift store. I hear you have a thrift store.
Oh, we have to have a thrift store, absolutely.
The horses turn in their old shoes?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, people's shoes.